Hello, welcome. This is Shades and Justice Podcast with your host, yours truly, Dr. Evelyn Hill. Hey, we are super excited to have you join us. And tonight we have a special guest, Mr. LaMont McIntyre. LaMont, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are super excited to have you with us. And um, we talked a couple weeks ago, and the information that you shared and Darryl Burton shared was just so phenomenal. I had to have you back on the show. So again, I'm super excited to have you with us. And before we get deep into the topic, which has to do with the injustice of incarcerating the innocent. You were incarcerated for over 20 years for a crime you did not commit. But before we get into those deep details, just tell us a little bit about you as a happy go lucky little boy and eating bacon and eggs for breakfast and playing outside. Share that Lamont with us for a minute.
Um, yeah, well, my name is LaMont McIntyre, and I grew up in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and I went to Wyandotte High. I I'm the middle kid. I'm the middle son of five siblings. I got an older sister, an older brother, and two younger brothers. And
Mhm.
I was raised in a single parent household with a lot of love. My mother was a nurse who
Mhm.
took good care in raising me and teaching me about education and things like that. So I had a good upbringing. I just had a lot of the areas we was living in was kind of sketchy, but I had a good upbringing. And I was a comedian growing up, so everybody knew me as being funny. So they used to call me Mont growing up. So I was Mont, and everybody knew me as the funny guy.
Wow. So if you grew up at Wyandotte High School in Kansas City, Kansas, I know their slogan is once a bulldog, always a bulldog. I think that's correct. Was that Wyandotte?
That's Wyandotte, Bulldog,
Okay,
Bulldog City.
I see. Did you play any sports?
I played no sports in school. I was just a class clown.
Just a class clown. I'm familiar with that type. I had two, which were my sons, so I understand that very well. And they both went to Washington, so real familiar with those individuals. So thank you for sharing just a little bit of your childhood. Um, if you don't mind, just give us a recap of why you were arrested and how all that stuff went down. I just think it's so interesting to hear the details from the mouth of the victim. You were a victim of injustice. So
Mm-hmm.
please just share a little bit about the recap of how you were arrested and why.
Well, in 1994, when I was 17, um, I got a call from my mother saying the police was looking for me. I ended up going to the police station and found out that two people had got murdered that day. And I didn't know at the time that it was a detective named Roger Galupski that was behind the whole crime and how I ended up in that situation in the first place. Him and my mother had a run in where Roger Galupski was a cop that everybody knew in the neighborhood that was a crooked cop. And he would prey on black women in the neighborhood. Uh, and my mother was one of his victims. At the time, I didn't know this, and she had filed a complaint against him. And to retaliate, he ended up putting me, my brother, my cousin in a photo lineup of a double homicide. So the day of the homicides, um, I was thrown into a photo lineup where he forced these two witnesses to say that I was a person responsible for killing these two men, and I ended up getting charged with two counts of first degree murder, April 15th, 1994,
Mm,
where I stayed in prison until October 17th, 2000, not October 13th, 2017.
wow. And that was how many years? 20,
23 years.
23 years. So, first of all, let me apologize to you uh, for what was done, and it's just heartbreaking to hear that our justice system has failed you and many others so tremendously. And I would definitely be in favor of doing some type of policy work around justice where less of these types of situations happen. So, please share some of the injustice systems that supported your arrest. You told us about former detective, um, and but what else? Who else in the justice system kind of agreed with this egregious crime against you?
Well, in order for any court system to find an innocent man guilty, you got to have a lot of moving parts. So, in my case, it was Roger Galupski as the detective. It was
Mm-hmm.
Tara Moorhead as the district attorney, and it was Judge Burdett, Dexter Burdett as the judge. All three of these people uh, worked in cahoots to secure a conviction, a wrongful conviction in my case. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Roger Galupski falsified documents and hid things, and he forced witnesses to identify me. Tara Moorhead
Mm-hmm.
threatened to take these women's kids. There was two witnesses in my case, two young girls, and
Mm-hmm.
they threatened to take these women's kids if they didn't say I was the person responsible. The victim's family was aware of me being innocent, so they went to the district attorney, which is Tara Moorhead, and told her that that's not the person we've seen kill. Well, it was their nephew and their cousin at the time. So they said that's not the person I seen kill my nephews and my cousin. So
Mm-hmm.
she instead of using them, she was a state's witness. By the way, these are state's witnesses, and instead of her correcting the situation, she told them that it was too late and it's in the jury's hands, and she dismissed them without them testifying at all. So
Wow.
that's how I ended up in that situation in court, being found guilty because the jury only heard the testimony of the two false witnesses that was coerced and forced to put me in that situation in the lineup.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. So, in your experience, so you're in jail, it's the first, say the first 10 days of jail, your whole life just changed, everything.
Yeah.
What was the first 10 days like? Kind of what was your experience? I can only go by what I see on TV. I can't go by what um, a real live person has actually experienced. Did you stay in the Kansas City area where you transferred somewhere else? And then what happened?
Well, since I was a juvenile, I stayed in the juvenile detention center in Wyandotte County. And for the first 10 days, I just couldn't sleep really because I didn't know why I was in prison. I mean, in jail. I didn't know the victims. I didn't know the area. I didn't know the witnesses. I wasn't connected to the crime in any way, shape, or form. So it was hard for me to understand why I was charged with 2 counts of first degree murder when I had no knowledge of, no
Mm,
connection to it at all. So my first 10 days was confusion. I was
mhm,
confused and I was scared because I didn't
mhm.
know why I ended up in that situation. I didn't know how I was charged with a crime I didn't commit. I don't know and didn't have no knowledge of. Sometimes when you're in them kind of situations, you'll be with somebody who committed crime and you have some knowledge of a crime. I had no knowledge of the crime. I had no connection to the
Wow.
crime. So I just
Mm,
couldn't understand why I was sitting in the detention center charged with these murders that I had nothing to do. So I was confused and scared at the time.
mhm. Wow. So how long were you in the uh, Wyandotte County juvenile system where so eventually you got past being a juvenile. Uh, where did you go after that? How long did you have to stay in that juvenile facility?
So my process went like I started out as being charged as a juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
Preliminary hearing came up where they had your preliminary hearing to see if you have enough evidence to get bound up for trial. My preliminary hearing came up with these two witnesses. For the first time I saw one of them, they walked in. Well, one walked in. She didn't look at me at all. And my lawyer asked me, do you know any of these people? I'm like, no, I don't know nobody. So the judge asked the one woman, do you see the person in the courtroom that committed the crime? For the first time, one of the girls looked up at me and pointed at me. And then another one came in and did the same thing. So that evidence got me bound over for trial. So what they did was they had to have a certification hearing or adjudication hearing to adjudicate me as an adult. So since I was a juvenile, they had to make sure that I was mature enough to stand trial as an adult. So we had a hearing for that, and they determined that I was mature enough to stand trial as an adult for two murders I didn't commit. So April, I was arrested in April. June, I had a preliminary hearing. July, I had a adjudication hearing, and I was in the adult system by August.
Wow. And you were still 17.
I was still 17 years old.
Wow. So, how did your relationship and communication with the present district attorney, talking about our present district attorney here in Wyandotte County, how did that change your life? What happened with this district attorney that was so different from your experience with the former district attorney?
Okay, after spending 20 years in prison, I got contact with an organization. They gave me my legal team. So my legal team, my lawyer at the time, Cheryl Pilot, was talking to the former district attorney, and he didn't have no words for us. He didn't want to look at the case. He was still saying I was guilty. He was saying if he was found guilty by a jury of his peers, so he wasn't entertaining just looking at the case. So her strategy was, we're going to wait till this new district attorney come in office, and then we can have a conversation with him and present our evidence to him. So 2017, I had a hearing I had a meeting with Mark Dupree in his chambers, and I went from the prison to the county jail, and I went to his chambers and I met him for the first time. And this was in March of 2017. And he came in and he asked me what I want to say. And I told him, I don't want no special privileges. I don't want nothing, no special favors, anything. I said, all I'll ask you to do is look at the evidence. I said, just follow the evidence. I need you to look at the evidence. That's all I want. I don't want nothing else. Whatever the evidence say, I'm fine with that. And that's all I told him. So we end up having a hearing, an evidentiary hearing in October that same year. And it was scheduled for 6 days. And it only lasted 2 before he heard enough evidence on my behalf to exclude me from being the person responsible for those murders. So my interaction with Mark Dupree was pretty positive, I guess.
Wow. So the difference is he at least looked at your case. That was the difference.
The difference is he looked at the case at least. I didn't want nothing else. I mean, if you got an innocent person, the community saying this person is innocent, and you have all this evidence backing up a claim of innocence, all the least you can do is look at the case.
Just look at it. Yeah.
He looked at the case.
And you said in 2 days, what happened?
2 days. First day, they had an expert witness, an ethics witness that came on, and Jim McCluskey, which was a executive director of Centurion Ministries, an organization who got me out of prison. The second day, my mother was supposed to testify. Judge Burdett was supposed to testify, and one of the victims' mother was supposed to testify. So the second day came, and by the time after recess, we all got back in the courtroom, and it was so quiet in the courtroom. Did nobody know what was happening? Did nobody know what was going to happen? My lawyers was unaware. And out of nowhere, Mark Dupree just got up at the podium and he started talking. And I didn't know what he was saying really, because I don't understand the jargon or the legal jargon he was using. But I heard him start saying he wanted to admit all evidence as exhibits on record. And then finally I heard him say he wanted to dismiss all charges and not retry the case. And the whole courtroom exploded. And, I felt it. I felt the energy. I felt freedom for that one moment. out of 23
Mm.
years. I felt it.
Wow. So did you immediately get set free, or did it still have to be more days, more months, more years before you were literally set free?
Okay, so since he gave the order to drop charges and not charge me, I went back to I still had shackles on, so they ended up taking me back to the county in that same cell I was in, where I had to stay for like 45 minutes to an hour until they processed my paperwork.
Uh-huh.
So I stayed in there for another 45 minutes to an hour before I was actually released.
Hmm. So that day was a life-changing day for you. That one day you have to go in before District Attorney Mark Dupree. He mentions that uh, he wants to set you free, and then within 2 or 3 hours, you were a free man. You walked out.
I walked out the courtroom and the courthouse. I walked out, free man, no shackles, no chains.
Wow, that is amazing. And just because he looked at your case, that's what's amazing to me. I just keep saying it because so often we find in the justice systems, maybe they just don't have time or they just
Mm-hmm.
don't want to just to
Yeah,
look at the case.
right.
So that that is amazing. So thank you so very, very much for sharing that. Mr. Burton, we're glad to see you. Thank you for joining us. How are you this evening?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm running a little bit late. I got caught up into some family stuff and totally got distracted. But I'm happy to be here.
Well, good, good. We have been just going over Mr. Lamont's experience. We didn't get too deep, but we did just explore some things which happened with him and the district attorney here in Wyandotte County, the present district attorney versus the old district attorney when his case was first tried. I
Mhm.
have been reading a lot of your book, and before we get into your book and some of the things that are happening with you, if you don't mind, just share with us what happened to you. You are another victim of injustice. You were incarcerated how many years before you were set free?
24 years and about, I don't know, several months, almost 25 years before I was
Wow.
finally set free.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you um, were innocent, of course, and you shared in our last podcast that you just was raised in a normal family. I think in St. Louis. Did you say?
Yes, that's right. St.
And
Louis.
how many siblings?
There was 9 of us. I had 6 brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay, and you were
Now, there were
somewhere
7
in the
boys
mid.
and 2 girls, and I'm right in the middle.
Okay, okay. So that's amazing too. I think Mr. Lamont mentioned that he was kind of in the middle also. So I know you all have worked on the Miracle of Innocence project for years, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes also. But just share what happened to you. Why were you incarcerated? What did they say you did where in reality you did not do any of that? What were you
Well,
accused of?
I was accused of capital murder, espionage, and treason are the only 3 crimes in the United States. If you get convicted, you're going to either be sentenced to life or death. There was a murder that happened in St. Louis. The gentleman was pumping gas into his automobile, and another man approached him, shot and killed him. Several people that night said the person they saw commit the crime was a short, medium to light skinned guy. I'm not 7 feet, but light skinned, I will never be. You
Okay,
laugh at that because you know that's right. His brother
right,
never be light skinned.
right. So Mr. Lamont shared that there were people that came in who were false witnesses that pointed him out as guilty, that they saw him at the crime. Did anything like that happen with you?
Yeah, there was what you call snitch witnesses, guys who were made deals with the police and the prosecutors, and they came into court, raised their hand to give an oath and tell the truth, and they lied. Because one of them in particular, he was facing 30 years in prison, and that's why he lied, because he received, they said 2 years sentence, but actually he received probation, and they released him after he testified against me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Both of them received, and they both were drug addicts and alcoholics, and so they both received either money and favors from the courts.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask a side question. I didn't ask any of this before, but is there drug and alcohol distribution in the cells, in the jail system, in the prison system?
Yes, yeah, that's drug. They make what's called homemade wine. It's called pooch, and
Okay.
yeah, it's made out of yeast, bunch of sugar, fruit, raisins, rice, whatever they can get their hands on, oranges, grapes, and
Potatoes.
yeah, potatoes. And they, cook. They put it in this 5-gallon container and seal it airtight for about 3 days. And when it comes off, it's powerful, powerful liquor. And then drugs get smuggled in several different ways.
Oh, really? How does it get through folks visiting, or how does that happen?
That's,
Guards bring
that's
most of
one
them in.
way. Right, but the guards are mules. They call them mule guards, or people who work there, staff who work in the prison. They call them mules. I mean, a guard can bring a little small quantity of drugs, and I mean, he may get paid $1,000, $1,500 a month. He can get that in one transaction.
Wow. See, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Wow.
it's the black
Well,
market, a whole nother
yeah,
world.
yeah, that's something. So, I want to ask you, one of the things I checked with Mr. LaMont was, how did things differ? Did you, last time we talked about how both of you all had to change your mindset. You, instead of concentrating on being angry and mad, you turned your whole mind, your whole focus was around, how can I get out of jail? Not trying to escape, uh, you
Oh
know.
yeah, I was trying to escape. I
Was
mean,
you
I
trying
wanted. Yes, I was. I'm gonna be honest. I was looking for a way out.
Yes.
Any means necessary. I was looking for a way out. Yes, I was.
Okay.
I was looking for a crack in the wall, in the gates, in the fence. Up, down. Yeah, I was looking for a way out. I wasn't supposed to be there, so I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. But you focus on educating yourself, and you focused on ways that you could legally get out, where the system
Right.
would work in your favor. And what had to happen with that? And how long did that take you to really focus in on being a part of just educating yourself, just changing that whole mindset, where you could engage with attorneys and whoever else is out there to help you?
That's a question for me.
Yeah, both of you can answer.
I went in '84, and I think my mindset began. I mean, I never accepted the sentence, and I told the judge I was going to fight the case till I proved that I was innocent. But
Mhm.
in probably in the '90s, late '90s, is when things began to change as far as my mindset, not being so angry and filled with hate and rage and bitterness. I mean, not that any of that left totally, but I just really surrendered. When Centurion came on my case, I wrote them in, I think, 1998. I wrote
Yeah.
Jesus a letter, didn't believe in Jesus or God. And
Mhm.
right around that time, I said, everything else has failed. I tried the courts, I've tried the politicians, I've tried lawyers, I tried writing letters, I tried doing, what you call pro se litigation, writing my own briefs and motions myself. I said, the only thing I haven't tried was God. Let me try
Mhm.
God.
Mhm.
And my grandmother's words was echoing in my head, and she had died. Boy, can't nobody help you get out of this but God. And I was hearing it it was like just like a constant refrain. Can't nobody
Mhm.
help you but God.
Mhm.
And so I decided to just stop, trying to do everything my way and let God see if God can do things, God's way.
Awesome. And so you began to write letters to this group, and then they responded to you. I think you told us in the last podcast that it didn't just happen to you overnight. It was years, even after they said, yes, we'll help you. It was years. How many years was that?
Yeah, I wrote them for 10 years before they took my case. And then it was 8 years before they got me out. So yeah, that was 18 years from the
Wow.
first letter I wrote to Centurion Ministries in Princeton, New Jersey. Yeah.
Wow. And what about you,
I'll
Miss?
be up there this month. I'll be up there this month, by the way,
Oh, okay.
at a retreat that they have a retreat every year in about April, and bring some of the folks who they got out. They fly them out to New Jersey and, have a little retreat for exonerees.
Oh, good. That's awesome. So, Mr. LaMont, did you want to share anything about your experience
Yeah,
when you
it was.
changed the focus of your mind, when you changed your mindset?
Yeah, I started out being panicky. I was panicked because after I got found guilty, I was just, I was angry. I was angry and I was frustrated and I was upset, and that stuff was weighing on my health. It was weighing on. It was. I wasn't sleeping. I had to take medications. I mean, I was in mental health, and after a couple of years of that, I realized that all the planning and nagging and that stuff I was doing, I wasn't getting out no sooner. It wasn't making the situation no better. So I ended up getting sick. And I ended up getting real sick in prison. And I just realized that me being hurt and angry and upset wasn't changing the situation. So I devoted my time, my energy, and my attention towards something else. And I did become more spiritually minded. I found God within me. And I started to look at the cup half full versus half empty. And I started to see light because hope came by way of Centurion Ministries, like a group of people who believed in me. They took my case, and it was 8 years of writing and corresponding, and then another 8 years before I got out. So it was a 16-year process for me. During that 16 years, I learned how to stay in the moment, not think about tomorrow or yesterday. And I learned how to submit myself in the moment. And I educated myself and took care of my mind, my body, and my spirit. And here we are.
Wow. Um, and you were able to do that in the midst of fights going on in the cells and doing dinner hour and all of that. It was many distractions out there. Could you describe some of that, how you were able to stay focused in the midst of all the chaos?
I wanted freedom more than anything else. Like one of my best friends hung himself in that situation.
Oh
Uh,
my.
a lot of friends of mine attempted suicide. I contemplated it, but I just couldn't see myself leaving my mother with that kind of grief.
Yeah.
So being around that kind of stuff all the time, it kind of just make you look for another way. And I didn't want to die in prison. I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So the only alternative I had was to find a way out. So I focused and devoted all my attention on not being upset or angry or complaining about the situation. I wanted to get out of the situation. So I kind of just changed my mindset on that. And I started to put better energy into what I was doing and what I was thinking. And I stopped hanging out with people. I stopped being involved in prison politics. And I learned how to keep my my business to myself and mind my own business. I didn't get
Yeah.
into prison politics. I didn't like the violence. I'm not a violent person. I didn't like seeing people get extorted or taken advantage of or hurt in any kind of way like that. So I kind of just isolated myself a lot and stayed away from it as much as I could. But it's hard to get away from that kind of stuff because violence is in that place every day, all day.
Yeah. Wow. Well, again, I compliment you both for the ability to stay focused and just to remain hopeful and to find the Lord and begin to trust Him and believe Him. And because what you had to live through is terrible. And one of the things Mr. Darryl Burton said last time is he felt like he was like the Joseph who was um, imprisoned and incarcerated for something he didn't do, and then later was recognized that he was not the criminal that they had said that he was. So I'm gonna switch just a little bit here. Does each state offer compensation for those who were wrongfully incarcerated? Do you all know anything about that or could give any information about that?
No, when I got out, there was no compensation in the state of Kansas. We ended up getting a bill passed in 2018, the
Mm-hmm.
second biggest compensation bill behind Texas, and we got that passed. It was retroactive in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri has a compensation bill. I had one, a compensation law, but it only affected people that had DNA cases, and it was real minimal. It was miserable.
Mm.
I think they just got something in passed in the law recently. If Darryl could speak more to that, because I'm not from Missouri. In the state of Kansas, there was compensation. It was 60,000 for each year, or 65,000 for each year an innocent person was in prison, and they get health care and education. They get the education paid for, and
Mm.
stuff like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
therapy. They get counseling. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good compensation package for a person that's been through that kind of situation.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Mr. Darryl, um, I see your name, but or alphabet, but I don't see you. But I wonder,
I-
do you have any information concerning the Missouri side with
Yeah,
compensation?
yeah, Missouri, they do not have what's called a compensation package. They're in the process of trying to pass something right now as we speak. And
Okay,
so let me just put my face back up here.
okay,
Yeah,
thank
right.
you.
I'm in the middle of so many things, multitasking. But yeah, Missouri, they trying to do something with the law to compensate. They compensate DNA, but I think that law was repealed, and they just tried to pass a new law to compensate anyone who's been wrongfully convicted. And this just recently it just came into law, probably not even a week or two old. So
Wow.
yeah,
And do they have anything in either state, Missouri or Kansas, for family members of the incarcerated, wrongfully incarcerated individuals that have died or died soon after they got out, or maybe died in prison? But I just know, I just read recently an individual died of cancer who had been wrongfully incarcerated. I just wondered, would that compensation go to his family?
no.
No, it wouldn't. The person had to be alive to receive the compensation. So the family didn't go through it. So I don't think it'd be, I don't think it'd be passed on to the family. Now, if the person receives compensation and he dies, then he could
Uh-huh.
probably leave it to his family, leave a will or a trust to his family. But if he dies before he get the compensation, the family don't reap the benefits of that.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. So, Mr. McIntyre, I'm very excited because you shared with me just before we got on the show that you were getting ready to publish a couple of books. Tell us a little bit about these books that you're getting ready to publish. I think our audience needs to know so we can be prepared to look wherever you publish them, or on Amazon, and be prepared to purchase them. So tell us about those two books.
Absolutely. The first book was co-written with Rick Tolsky,
Mhm.
called Injustice Watch. It's a book that showcases and highlights the actual case and how it unfolded, how it happened, and
Mhm.
I'm basically like the case study of the book. I'm the example, I'm the person that the book is surrounded by.
It's
That's
called Injustice,
Injustice Town. Yeah,
Injustice Town.
yeah,
Okay. All right.
and
Wow.
yeah, and that's going to be a book that's going to be a part of the criminal genre.
Hmm.
And my book is a self-help book.
Okay.
I'm talking about what happened to me in my case, but I'm also talking about how do you deal with such adversity, how you deal with such hardship. So it'll be more than self-help genre. And
Okay.
and we also finished a documentary that I've been working on for 6 years. So this year you'll
Wow.
see 2 books and a documentary from me.
Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's pretty exciting. Is it public television that is going to be showing your documentary, or is it going to be on Netflix or Tubi or
Netflix or Tubi.
Roku?
Netflix or Tubi. Whichever one pick it up first. But we trying to distribute it. We trying to get it distributed right now. So I'm trying to get a distributor and figure out how I can get it out there. But it's complete, and I'm just looking for an agent to help me maximize, the actual project, get it out there like it should be out there. So I say
Okay.
Netflix. Netflix, it might be on Netflix though, really.
Okay, well, that's exciting. We'll keep our eyes open. And Mr. Burton, would you like to share anything about your book? I have in my hands your book, and it's pretty thick, and I got it loaded with yellow bookmarks to ask a bunch of questions. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear what you have to say about your book.
Oh, well, thank you. It was a truly labor of love. I started on that book more than 20 years ago. It was in 2000. And I didn't finish that book until probably about a year, a little more than a year ago, almost 2 years ago, when I got it published. I
Uh-huh.
self-published, and I had some few editors, a couple of lawyers, a scientist, and one was an education
Uh-huh.
major. So yeah, but the book, has 3 parts to it. It talks about how I was sent to prison, how I had to live in
Mhm.
prison, how I got out of prison. But the
Mhm.
main message is really about God and hope, and trying to encourage people, to just, really hang in there and don't give up, and no matter what. I wrote the book with other folks who are in prison in mind, as well
Mhm.
as I wanted to. If you read the book, you're gonna also see that I'm, challenging, the criminal justice legal system, and trying to encourage folks to, get some reforms, or at least put some thoughts that I think, ways in which the system need to be reformed,
Mhm.
where it can, where some of these wrongful convictions can stop happening, and people
Mhm.
don't have to stay in prison for
Mhm.
decades before it's finally revealed that they were innocent. So it's got,
Mhm.
I tell stories in there. I tell some horror stories. I tell some, it's one story, rainbow story is, and it's an amazing story. Just, and it happened.
Uh-huh.
It's what I call, it's a very spiritual story. And
Uh-huh.
so, but that's what we are. We storytellers, and so we everybody tells stories all the time, every day. That's what we're doing right now. We're just telling
Mhm.
stories.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a part in there where you called Little Saigon in Vietnam when you
Mm.
went to a certain
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's some of the horror stories. Yeah, that was part of the
Yeah.
prison where I was
Yeah.
housed. Yeah, that was and that's what it was. It was like Vietnam. It was just a war zone and a
Mhm.
battle zone. It was gladiator, just constant attacks by other prisoners against other prisoners, or guards against prisoners, or prisoners against guards. It was a war zone. It was literally Vietnam. Every day, 3 men got stabbed or assaulted. Every day, screams,
Wow.
the yells, the
Mhm.
violence, and there was no stopping it. No stopping it.
So
Yeah.
anybody would ask the question, why don't the guards do something? I mean, there seems to be so much violence. Is it because it's not enough guards, or the guards don't care?
Not enough
What
guards.
is
The guards don't care, and sometimes the guards, they perpetuate some of the violence. They all The guards
Oh my.
sometimes instigate some of the violence. It's like I say, it become not only gladiator school, but for some of those folks, it become recreation, or it becomes a thrill.
Oh, that's Your speaker's off. LaMont, no, Mr. Darryl, your speaker's off.
Darryl, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
He is definitely moving. Mr. Darryl, we cannot hear you. We can't hear you.
Like he was saying about them guards.
Yeah.
That's another thing that people are unaware of. Like when you convicted of a crime, the guards is taught and conditioned to look at you that you less than a human being. So they know what's going on. They perpetuate the violence and the corruption and the drug smuggling and all of it. So and they really horrible people. Like we don't talk about that a lot, but the guards are some of the worst people you will ever come in contact with. They treat you the poorest. Like I'm talking about the poorest. You got to not only deal with your own sanity, deal with the inmates, the violence of the place, but you also got to deal with the guards. It's so disrespectful. They're so insensitive. They don't care about who you are, what you're doing there, none of that stuff. They look at you like you've been found guilty and you're not even worthy of respect. And that's just another element to this whole thing that people have to deal with in that situation, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like you are considered less than human. They treat animals better than some of the folks get treated in there. There was two guards used to treat me and with my mail, and this is the worst thing in the world is to do something to a guy's mail because that's what's called sacred. You know, you rarely get mail in that place anyway.
Yeah.
And the guards my roommate, they would slide his mail under the door, but when they asked me for my prison number and I would tell them 153063, they would drop the mail to the floor and kick it to the back of the cell. And my cellmate would say, man, what do these guards got against you? And I didn't know them, never saw them before going to prison. And they just did that every time I got mail called. And it was very disturbing, very disturbing. And this was a time when I had just started giving my life to God or trying to be a Christian or a believer. And I said, man, this Christian stuff is hard because I'm not so used to turning the other cheek, you know, and being what you call passive. And, you know, especially when I feel like I'm right and I hadn't done anything wrong. And I knew I could beat both of them up. One was an older guard and one was, you know, he's young, you know, kind of cocky guard. But I knew I could beat both of them up together in my mind. I probably, probably wouldn't have turned out that way. In fact, I know it wouldn't because they would have called a bunch of other guards in there and beat me up till they probably killed me. But it's just, you know, it's just being tested and tried at so many psychological games, so many prison games. And most of them, as LaMont said, they played by the guards. I've seen guys stab each other or try to kill one another. They go to the hole for a year and they let these guys out and put them on the same walk in the same housing unit. And guys and guards would bet money who was going to stab and kill the other one first. It's those kinds of games that they play. It's crazy, unbelievable.
Wow. Well, I had Mr. LaMont share a little bit about his documentary that's coming out and his two books, and I definitely want to give you an opportunity to share about your book and the other things you got coming down the pike. God has blessed you both, and I want both of you, or at least one of you, to talk about the Miracle of Innocence, your organization, and the website and all that before we leave. But let's just get started out by you just sharing a little bit more about your book and some of the movies and what all else that's coming in the future.
Oh yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for asking. Yes, I do have the book Innocent a Second Look. And if you want to get copies or anybody, one of your viewers want to, you know, get a copy, they can go to darrylburton.org, miracleman.net, and they can, you know, make a purchase of the book there. And I would, you know, gladly autograph it, sign it, and send it to them. In fact, that's what I was doing when you all was calling. Also, I was sending out 10 books to someone in Florida. They just, you know, they wanted 10 books, and so they was already signed. But so I was sending those out in the store. That's where I was. I was doing some family stuff, and I went over there to mail those books. But yeah, My story's been, right now we're in production development to turn it into a docu-series movie. Uh, Me and a team of folks were working on it, been working on it. Now, of course, the conversation, the discussion started about a year or so ago. And now we're really in the process of trying to raise the money and the funds because it really takes money to, really put together a documentary or a docu-series or film. And I'm planning, hopefully, that would be something that would come out in a year or so. And that's kind of my plan as it relates to my story. I'm gonna write a second book myself. I got another book that I want to do, and hopefully this is long term, I think. But hopefully my daughter and I can be reunited because I think I told you before, she just right now don't have anything to do with me, and so I'm here with my step family, my wife and basically her children. We're blended marriage, blended family, and they in my life. They love me, but my own biological daughter won't have anything to do with me or say to me at this point, and it's been like that for months, not years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what these wrongful convictions. That's how they affect people, and we can talk about miracle of innocence and what we do there. LaMont, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, Miracle of Innocence formed today. I got out. Darryl was thinking about it and talking about it a while, and then I got him home, and he said we needed to help these other people get out of prison, and I agreed. So 2017, when I got out, we started Miracle of Innocence, and since then we were able to help 4 other people get out of prison. We got a guy, Keith Carnes, got him exonerated. He got out all together. So Miracle of Innocence is very, very important. It's a very powerful organization because it's the only one of its kind that started by 2 exonerees, 2 guys who was in that situation, who was in the line of fire and the lion's den, who can understand and relate to every other situation like that. So, and it's a very, very powerful organization. And if people want to get involved and know what we're doing and see where the support goes and come from, they go to miracleofinnocence.org to see what we're doing and how we're doing it. And if you want to be a part of it, that's where they can go to get all the information they need. It's miracleofinnocence.org.
Yeah, and I just follow on with that to say, our organization is basically it's a 2-point organization, a 2-prong, 2 approach. And that's we help innocent people get out, then help them when they come home. Because when I came back into society, I went to these reentry programs and asked for some help. They help offenders when they get out of prison. And they said, Darryl, we cannot help you. We don't help innocent people. We only help the guilty. And I said, man, that's just crazy. I did almost 25 years. They said, yeah, we're sorry, but you guys need to start an innocence organization to help innocent people. And that was one of the reasons when LaMont got out, I said, man, we got to start an organization to help innocent people. And that was one of the reasons we started. And of course, now we try to help people with, housing assistance, not to buy them a house, but housing assistance, identification, communication, transportation, occupation, counseling. We have, also we have every Monday we get together, exoneree care meeting, and that's, hosted by exonerees with, Susie Rowland, who's social worker. She works with us and help us. So, I mean, we know what it's like to be innocent and to come out, and no one understands what we've gone through except someone else who's been through it. And no one that we come home to, family members, they like strangers to us. They, we don't understand them. They don't understand us. In fact, I just went to a funeral of one of my first cousins a week ago. And man, one of my other little cousins, he just snapped and went off on me and felt like I was supposed to let him come and live in my house. And I'm like, young man, I mean, why are you mad at me? You got all these other relatives, but I'm the one you mad at because you said that I didn't let you stay in my place. I said, man, you need to try to get you some treatment, But at any rate, he was using some choice language. I said, let me just get away. Let me just, leave this young man alone because that's what family members are. Sometimes, they can be different. I just put it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank both of you gentlemen again for just being on our show and for giving our radio and YouTube audience a peek into your lives. Being growing up in different communities, and then at an early age being snatched from a regular lifestyle and thrown into prison, and then you literally had to survive. You had to survive mentally and emotionally, along with physically. And God spared your lives. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to help somebody else, that you're going in, pulling others out. I do have a question. How did you all meet? I heard Darryl, you say, I told Lamont this, or I told Lamont that. How did you meet? Did you see him when he got out of jail? How did all that happen?
The most interesting story. That's the most interesting story ever. Like, we both shared the same lawyers who got us out of prison. So I was caught when Darryl had got out of prison, and I was still dealing with getting out. So I talked to my lawyer one day, and she told me, "I don't know what you're going through, Lamont. Only other person I know who's going would know what you're going through is Darryl Burton." So I called him while I was in prison, and he was scheduled to come do a speaking engagement in the Lansing where I was at. And the day came, someone had got killed on the yard. This is the medium facility. Somebody got killed on the yard, so I couldn't see him that time. But we was always talking. I would call him, and he would talk to me and everything. So the first day when I got out, he was one of the first people I saw. And he hugged me, and I hugged him, and he whispered in my ear that we got to help get these people out of prison. So we met like that through a mutual attorney who was both of our attorneys at the time. And we had the same innocence organization. We had the same attorney. We had the same path, parallel. I was just a little younger, but it was the same exact story, the same exact outcome, same exact characters that played a role in getting us free. It was the same thing. So that's how we met.
It's amazing that,
Everything is similar in so many ways. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just amazing what God has done and what he's yet doing, and the impact that you will have with so many others in the future, and what you're doing right now. And I'm hoping that, because I see stuff all the time on television, where um, different ones are being prosecuted for one thing or another. But one of the things that I see regularly, like today, I saw on the news an autistic child had a something that looked like a big stick or a bat, and it was 3 or 4 police officers. The autistic child was like 17 years old, big guy, and he was walking toward the fence. The police were on the other side of the fence, and several of them shot the kid 8 times,
Oh
8 bullets. And so we
man.
got to get the word out somehow. Please don't don't agitate because they are taught, the police are taught, if there is a threat of their lives, they're gonna shoot you. They're gonna, that's just how it is. And but what is, and this was
It
an
shouldn't be
artist.
that, but it shouldn't be
It
that way.
should
They don't,
it shouldn't.
they could have
That's
That's why
tased
they
him.
have
They
tasers.
could have
That's why they have
tased him.
tasers. Exactly.
Yeah, they could have just shot him in the leg. I mean, anything. It don't, man, I don't want to say he was African American, but that's what I
he
believe.
was
He could have been,
Hispanic. He
he'd
was a
be
Hispanic.
Hispanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was
Yeah.
person of color. But yeah, and they probably would have did it if he was a white kid. I don't know, but then maybe not. But that's it. Just that is what you call excessive force.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excessive force.
But you all give me hope for those that are behind the jails already. You've lived such a life that has pulled you away from society, and now God has exposed the injustice, and now you're on this side making a way for others. So I want to thank you for that. I thank both of you for your time, and I'm looking forward to watching you on Netflix or Tubi or wherever. I can't wait to see those documentaries, and I look forward to seeing you. I know you all do fundraisers every year, so I want to make sure to support that and want to encourage others because of the great work that you are doing. Thank you for enduring what you've endured, and thank you for being on our show tonight. Any last words or encouraging words to our listeners?
Stay peaceful.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, keep your head up. Don't give up,
Okay,
no matter what. Keep your head up. Don't give up, no matter what.
perfect. Well, thank you again. Thank you to all of our listeners who stopped by tonight. This is Shades and Justice Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Evelyn Hill. Remember, we serve a God who loves justice. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.